News on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chukudi. We begin with the front pages of the papers. We're starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with politicians inducing voters with money, buying PVCs. That's a report coming from INEC. The writer says a worrisome development that's coming from PDP. Those who weaponize poverty behind purchase of PVCs. That's coming from Labour Party. Politicians creating problems for electoral system. That's coming from Afenifere. INEC must invalidate stolen bought PVCs. That's what Pandef is saying. INEC left openings for manipulations. That's from Ohaneze. On page 6, pensioners go wild in Niger. Disrupt swearing of local government chairman. On page 9, military not conducting secret abortion scheme. That's what the federal government is saying. On page 8, THISDAY APC Media Team spat. NGE NUJ calls for professionalism, free press. On page 6, pregnant woman killed in failed attempt to kidnap husband, others in Borno. We will prioritize job creation for youth, women, and that's coming from Atiku. Some judges have over 1,000 pending cases. FHC CJ laments. You can see that on page 8. Stories above. The big interview, why national water bill is necessary. That's coming from Engineer Adamo, the minister. On page 9, COVID-19, NCAA suspends a PCR test for departure arrival. INEC offices third attack in 12 days, claims 4 lives in Imo, says vital election material safe, PDP LP kick. You can see that on page 29. Last year on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, CBN disburses 9.7 trillion naira intervention funds. All right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with 4 years after one swap deal, forex pressure mounts. The writer says only 2.6% of imports from China funded with a one swap auction in 4 years. Naira volatility, a major drawback in future negotiation. China accounts for over 25% of Nigeria's imports. Trade value climbs to 19.57 trillion naira since MOU was first signed. Currency exchange, a good deal, but time for house cleaning, says Owo. On page 4, Buhari approves relaxation of COVID-19 safety measures. INEC under pressure to remain upbeat as violence 2023 countdown. You can see that on page 6. Stories above. Lawan begs Erufai to persuade governors over stalled constitution review. Osun government alleges looting at Abuja Governor's Lodge here. Sit at home, Ohaneze seeks arrest, repatriation of Ekpa to Nigeria. And lastly, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, abortion allegation, federal government stands with military, dismisses report as fake news. All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with 5 killed in attack on another INEC office in Southeast, 2 policemen, 3 attackers dead in crossfire, IPOB behind attack, says police. PDP crisis, Wiki Okowa autumn in airport drama, governors in hide and seek, 6.5 billion naira project inaugurated in Makurdi. Ondo indigenes to Senate, don't surrender to blackmail over NDDC nominee. Stories above. Nduka Baigbena, hypocritical grandstanding on public morality. You can read that report in the Nation newspaper. All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with INEC PDP offices raised, scores killed in Southeast Kaduna. The writer says a politician sponsoring attack on INEC offices, says Uzodima. Gunmen, soldiers clash in Ebonyi. Soldiers comb communities, attack villages. Military invades volatile Kaduna local government areas. Traders, artisans, civil servants flee as gunmen enforcing sit-at-home invade Abakaliki market bonds. You can see a photo story showing Sonwolu collects a reprinted PVC as INEC begins distribution. Lagos Ibadan Expressway, relief as federal government removes barriers. FDI dropped by 59% in 11 years. That's reports coming from World Bank. Fuel scarcity, marketers kick against NNPCL import monopoly. Stories above. Withdrawal limits, POS operators, Falano head for court. Bajabi Amila fought Emefiele. Politicians buying PVCs from voters, INEC alleges. Last year on the front page of the Punch newspaper, medical tourism gulped 6.2 $23 million in 8 months, and that's coming from a report, and that's what we can take on the front pages of the papers. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining, it's still today in the news on Vanguard Live. I am Precious Chukwudi. Joining me to talk about some of the stories we have on the front pages of the papers this morning is Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher of Illupeju Today, Ikeja Today, and Lekki Today. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Precious. Good morning to all our viewers.
Yeah. All right, so let's delve into what we have. And of course, INEC has raised the alarm that some politicians have been buying up PVCs and also financially inducing unsuspecting voters to harvest their voters' identification numbers ahead of 2023 election. What's your take on this report by INEC?
I really don't know why any political party or politician at this time would be wasting money to buy PVCs or try to induce voters, because the whole purpose of this BVAS system, biometric verification, is that, first of all, you have to have your PVC to vote. Secondly, your PVC can be used by you and you alone, because that BVAS will confirm your fingerprint, it will confirm your facial recognition, it will ascertain that you are who you say you are, and you are who registered, and you are who that PVC represents. So if a politician is going around giving money and collecting these PVC cards, it can only mean two things, because no other person can use somebody else's PVC. So it can only mean two things. Number one, it can mean they want those PVCs out of circulation so that those people cannot vote. Maybe politicians are going to areas where they think they are weak and cannot win, and they are now trying to take voters out of reckoning by denuding them of their PVCs. The second possibility is that those who are buying those PVCs could go to the politicians and say, look, I can deliver so many votes to you. Look at, I have 1,000 PVCs. All these 1,000 PVCs, if you work with me, I can deliver the votes, because all these people, I've given them money, they will take their cards back and go and vote for you because I've collected their money. But either way you look at it, whatever the reasons behind it is, it's still a subversion of our democracy, because the whole idea is that people are supposed to vote their conscience. It shouldn't be about being manipulated by an offer of a bag of beans, a bag of rice, a recharge card, 1,000 naira, or any other inducement. Because at the end of the day, it is the very voters who are being bought that will be most affected by whatever government comes into power. So it is incumbent upon all of us as voters to make sure that we scrutinize the candidates and we choose who we believe will do the best for Nigeria, not who can pay us for our votes. Because at the end of the day, all the policies from any government affect each of us individually.
It is true that poverty has really been so weaponized here in Nigeria, and you know that some people do not mind actually selling their PVCs, irrespective of whatever it is. But and this is actually a threat to our democracy. But I would like you to speak more on that.
Well, the thing about it, yes, is that because a large proportion of the population falls within what they call below the poverty line. I think it's $2 a day is the benchmark for poverty, because a large swath of our population falls within that range. It's easy to induce people, not just for votes. People will sell anything. I mean, there was a story in the news last week about young ladies who sold their organs, who sold, they supposedly, quote unquote, went to do egg donation for fertility purposes. But what I'm saying is, anything that is sellable now, down to even your body parts, down to even your reproductive cells, both male and female, there's a huge market. People are trying to sell their kidneys, only there's a law against it. But yes, poverty plays a key role. In other words, if people had jobs that paid them a living wage, that they're actually getting by and keeping heads above water, it'd be much harder to tell somebody, here's 1,000 naira, give me your PVC. Here's 5,000 naira, let me have your vote on election day. It'll be a lot harder, because then people will be able to stand up for themselves and say, no, I don't need your money. That's chump change compared to what I will suffer in the next 4 years if we have bad leadership. So when you say poverty is being weaponized, what that necessarily says is that the fact that people are poor is being taken advantage of by politicians for their own ends in such a way that they just throw a little carrot because of the financial circumstances of vulnerable voters. Vulnerabilities expose us to temptation, things we normally would not do if we were okay, if we were surviving, if we were thriving, things we normally wouldn't be susceptible to. Poverty does create desperation, and that desperation makes you compromise your principles. So yes, it's much easier to find gullible voters to buy their PVCs or to buy their votes or to induce them to vote a particular way because the economic circumstances are not favorable at this time. So that puts a lot more burden on INEC, the NGOs, all the agencies that are out there promoting good governance, good elections, free and fair elections. It puts a lot more burden on them to sensitize the masses, especially those in the rural areas who have always been used to the fact that they pay them some money, they give their vote, to sensitize them to the fact that that 1,000 naira that they've given you can end up costing you hundreds of thousands of naira over the next 4 years in terms of bad policies. So it's incumbent upon INEC and the NGOs to sensitize the masses that it's not worth the money they're offering to you for you to sell your conscience and condemn yourself to bad governance for the next 4-year period.
I was going to ask that you mentioned INEC and NGOs, but whose responsibility is it also to, maybe put some systems in place to just check these manipulations by politicians?
Well, you see, the thing is that with the police itself, who polices the police? When you say put things in check to circumvent the manipulations by politicians are the ones running the system. INEC chairman is nominated by the president, who is a politician, and the whole system from the legislature to the executive to the local councils, any and everywhere where you see elections being organized, politicians generally are involved, either by way of nominating the people running the show or by the way of passing the laws. So look at this BVAS, for example. I mean, it had to go through a legislative process, both through the legislature, the INEC itself. But that goes to show that some of our representatives do have in mind the fact that they need to sanitize the electoral process, because BVAS, including all the features it incorporates, things like electronic transmission of results and things like that, those kind of things reduce the ability to compromise elections and compromise their results. So we're on the right track. Ultimately, when you see the developments in the Electoral Act signed by the president and the things it prescribes, you will see that there is a concerted effort to reduce the ability of the system to be manipulated. So I think we're on the right track.
All right, so let's talk about the fact that there seems to be like a systematic attack on INEC offices of late, and it's getting too much, especially during the period where we're now in the period of PVC distributions and all that. What's your take on this development?
It's troublesome. Yesterday, there was another attack. I think it was the third in 12 days. Yesterday's one was particularly serious because some policemen were killed, I think 2, and then 3 of the attackers were also killed. The office that was attacked, I think it's in Imo State, and I think it is located in the city center. It's the INEC headquarters for Imo. And so luckily it was fortified enough to where they were able to ward off the attack, and they overpowered the attackers. However, the good thing is they managed to apprehend, I think, 2 of them. So I believe that in the process of investigation, interrogation, questioning, we begin to know who these people are, because all we've heard all this time is they call them unknown gunmen. Unknown gunmen has even become a throwaway phrase in this country now. So we've never been able to identify who they are. Some people have said they're IPOB. IPOB has said they have nothing to do with them, that they are not their members, that they are peaceful. They're out for peaceful agitation for their own state, and that they don't sanction the activities of unknown gunmen burning their INEC offices. So you ask yourself, what is the motive behind these attacks? Who stands to gain from these attacks? And you begin to wonder, first of all, They're burning INEC offices. That's where sensitive election materials are kept. That's where PVCs are kept. And like you said, the timing of yesterday's attack, because yesterday was when INEC started up the distribution of PVC. So you look at it and you say, can it be a coincidence that the very day they tell people come and start collecting your PVC is the day they go and attack and raise the headquarters in Imo State? Remember, INEC has offices in every local government. So that's why it's difficult for security operatives to man all of them. We have 774 local governments. So there's a minimum of 774 INEC offices. How many security personnel do we have, despite all the other security challenges we have in the country? So it's difficult to guard these places and have them fully fortified against attack. And these perpetrators, they know that those places have a soft underbelly that's easy to penetrate. So what are they trying to achieve? Do they want to stop elections in 2023 from happening? Do they want to give undue advantage to one particular group over another? What is behind it? But whatever the case may be, whatever is behind it, whatever the motive is, it is clear that these attacks are having a drawback on our ability to carry out those elections, not just carry them out efficiently, accurately, but also free and fair. Because although INEC has said within 24 hours they can replace PVCs, but it's not only PVCs that are in those offices. There's computers, there's logistics, there's probably maybe even ballot papers for all we know. There's all kinds of stuff. So each time this happens, it hampers INEC's ability within that area, even if they reproduce the PVCs very quickly. How about all of the other support equipment that's been destroyed? Their staff, where will they congregate to do their work too? Because elections are just 2 months away, to a little bit over 2 months away. So this becomes worrisome. And I think yesterday, the fact that the police were able to, the security was able to repel the attack is a good sign. And then secondly, like I said, they apprehended a couple of them. Maybe those people will be able to help with the investigation and give some kind of information that can help the security do better in the future. All
right, so let's move ahead and talk about this one. Now, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice John, has lamented about the number of cases pending before the court, and that some judges have over 1,000 cases in their dockets. What do you think about this situation?
The judiciary is the last hope for the common man. That's what it is, the bastion of hope for the common man. That's where you go to redress grievances. And in a country of 200 million people, we will always disagree. And rather than take the law into your own hands or go to fisticuffs, it's best to go to court. So there's nothing wrong with the fact that we have that many cases. In fact, if it's just 1,000 cases from 200 million people, it's actually a drop in the bucket, really. The issue becomes the fact that we don't have enough courtrooms, we don't have enough judges, we don't have enough paralegals, we don't have enough law clerks, those who will make the process run faster and more efficiently. There is a vacuum. I don't know whether it's because maybe the budget allocated to the judiciary is not adequate, which is why they've been fighting for judicial autonomy and local government autonomy, so they have their own funds, they know where to direct the funds where it's mostly needed. But clearly in this country, we don't have enough judicial officers to process the volume of cases. Not just even the Supreme Court. I think they can have, I think, up to 17 justices of the Supreme Court. I think there are only 13 or 14 now. And even to get a case heard in the Supreme Court, except for maybe election matters, if your case goes all the way, it can take 10 years for you to get a court date because they are so overwhelmed and have such a massive backlog. And I just put it simply at the feet of the inefficiency, the bureaucratic inefficiency of successive administrations. It's not just this current government, but it's been building up over the years where enough attention and resources are not thrown at the judiciary, because people look at the judiciary, even though it is an equal arm of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, all three of them combine to form a government, and all three of them have equal role. No one is more prominent than the other, but the judiciary is in the background. They are quiet, they are seen, they are not heard, they don't have an active day-to-day role in governance like you would see the legislators debating every day and passing bills. You see the executive passing policies and implementing measures to better our lives. The judiciary is quiet and in the background. So a lot of people just forget that they exist, not knowing that their work is critical, because the dispensation of justice is critical to a functioning democracy. So more attention needs to be paid to give the kind of resources that can help to flesh out the not just officers, even court buildings, which a good thing I read yesterday that Lagos State has signed a contract for the rebuilding of the Igbo Shere Court, which was raised during NSAS. That court, I think, had that building had 22 courts that were raised during NSAS. The judges were put in different little buildings here and there to continue carrying out their job, but loss of that building hampered a lot of cases and reduced the physical facilities available for the dispensation of justice. So now that Lagos is trying to build that one back, they are going to even increase the number of courtrooms, I think from 22 to 37, which means more judges will have places to work. They can employ more judges, which is what needs to happen. That backlog is purely as a result of the fact that we don't have enough infrastructure and personnel in the judiciary, and once that is addressed, you begin to see things improve, because they say justice delayed is justice denied.
Sure. All right, moving on, let's talk about this one. And of course, there seems to be a situation between the THISDAY Arise News team and the APC Media Team, and they actually said that the APC Media Team had picked on their chairman because of some stories that he ran on Tinubu. What do you think about the situation? Because they had to even, publish, I think, a story on it and all of that. What do you think about it?
This has been brewing for quite a long time, and there are two different sides to the story, depending on where you sit. Arise has been putting together town hall meetings for the different candidates. It's done, I think, three. It's done a series. It's on the third in a series now, and has invited all the presidential candidates to come to this town hall meeting, take questions, debate, talk. Well, the APC presidential candidate has rejected the invitations, I think, all 3 times. And so Arise is now standing up to APC and saying, look, the media has a responsibility, it's written in the Constitution, right, to deepen democracy and play its role in information dissemination to protect our democracy. And a part of that is organizing these debates, and that they are essentially trying to say that the APC presidential candidate does not have a right to refuse. And the APC candidate is saying, you can't compel me to come to your debate. So at the end of the day, it's really up to the voter to decide whether you agree with the fact that he doesn't have to go to the debate, or whether you agree with Arise that he must do. My position is that anyone who doesn't attend debates that I cannot hear from and understand where they're coming from and what they're offering to the country, they're not likely to get my vote. But at the same time, I don't think that a private organization such as Arise has any legal or constitutional authority to force somebody who says they don't want to come. So I think it's telling already, the fact that his seat is empty and all the other seats are occupied and the other people are talking to us. I think it's telling to the average voter already that, well, this is one person who's not interested. However, he is giving reasons saying that Arise is biased, that Arise has had a vendetta. They're out to get him, and they've been out to get him from the beginning. And this is really starting to look like there's a personal beef between the Arise chairman and the APC presidential candidate, because the mudslinging and the brickbats are just getting out of hand. And this thing is going back and forth and back and forth. Press release today, press statement tomorrow. So I think that at the end of the day, yes, Arise is trying to do his job as a media house, but the APC presidential candidate, even if he doesn't want to go to Arise because he thinks Arise is biased, let him go to some other ones. Arise is not the only media house in Nigeria. Let some other media houses, or let him say which media houses can organize this, that he will go. Let some other media houses organize, and then let's see him say he's not coming to them too, and see the reason he gives for not coming to those. But for now, if it's just Arise that he's saying he's not going, and he's giving a credible reason that he doesn't believe he'll get a fair shake, and if you look at the way Arise has been hammering, it's as if they're on a personal mission for real. So I would say that they both need to sheath their swords, and let's make this peaceful and civil. Remember, they signed a peace accord during the run-up to the campaigning season, that they would eschew violence, they would this, they would that. Even though this is not going to fisticuffs, it's violence in a way that is being unleashed. So I would say they should sheath their swords. He does not have to go to Arise, but let him shut Arise up by going to other places and say, see, I told you, it's because it's you. Not that I'm running away from debate, but it's you I don't believe will be fair. So I'm going to go to AIT, I'm going to go to channels, I'm going to go to NTA, I'm going to go to any of these other places. So let him do that and put the matter to rest by showing that it's Arise that he has a personal beef with, and not the Nigerian voter.
All right, let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. before we go. Mr. is speaking, says, which is more popular, polygamy or monogamy? And Mrs. says, I don't know. And then Mr. replies and says, I don't expect you to know. As a married woman, you will never support polygamy. It is more popular and acceptable among unmarried women.
Yes, okay. Well, Mr. should remain a monogamist.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Daya Akintobi. Thank you for sharing your thought with us this morning.
Always.
Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen on Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp. Also, Twitter is on your screen. To find out today's stories, go to our website, www.vanguardngl.com. I am Precious Chikudi, and thank you for watching.